am a delivery driver for one of the auto dealers here in Knox County. The concerns that I have over the past few weeks is, number one, can our infrastructure handle growth? And I think in some cases the answer to the question is no. Due to the fact that when you look at many of the roads here, for example, Ball Road, Ball Camp Road, you look at that area, unfortunately we're kind of landlocked in that area due to the fact that there's a lot of homes around there. When you have a situation where people are wanting to drive to and from, is our infrastructure able to handle the growth? Currently, I don't think our current infrastructure can handle the growth due to the fact that, again, we're landlocked. In many situations, we have problems being able to widen the roads. So here are some questions that I think that you all need to ask. What is the current condition of our infrastructure? I think it's pretty sad, really. The next thing is, can the current infrastructure handle new growth? If the current infrastructure cannot handle the current level that we have, can new growth be added? The answer to the question is no. What is the cost to the taxpayers to improve our roads, to improve our relationship not only with our utility companies, but making sure that are we going to have a similar situation happen that we did last December when we had the rolling blackouts? Rolling blackouts is not going to be the answer. We need to make sure that our growth and our infrastructure is matched in line. And in fact, I would say, let's make sure that our infrastructure exceeds the growth, not just flatline. Let's exceed it. It's like if you were to tow a vehicle that's 3,000 pounds. Do you want a 3,000 pound hitch on that, or you want a 4,000 pound hitch? You want a 4,000 pound hitch. Second of all, what is the cost going to be as far as, are we going to have to take land from people? Again, as I stated, if you look at Ball Road, Ball Camp Pike, even Shod Road, for that matter, pretty sad. 2-lane road. It needs to be 3 lanes.
Mr. Ressler, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up is Sandra Korbelic. Ms. Korbelic, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and county of residence if you're here. Okay, we'll come back. Margie Grace. Ms. Grace, please state your name and county residence. You have 3 minutes, ma'am. Thank you.
Forgive me, I didn't quite hear you.
Korbelic, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Ms. Korbelic.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sandra Korbelic, or Korbelic, 5212 Daphne Drive, Knox County resident. The proposed change to the growth policy plan and text are based on the unapproved comprehensive plan. There are many very basic questions about this unapproved comprehensive plan which need to be addressed first. Answers to these questions could have major changes to the growth policy text and map. Some of these questions include the fact that the entire study is based on incorrect population projections. There are no new parks in the recently approved Marks Park Master Plan. Limited East Knox Road widening is identified. The one reserved school property was sold a long time ago. There is no high-density suburban place type proposed. No consideration for the economic importance of farms and prime soils. No discussion of the government's cost of secondary services, sheriff, library, social, et cetera, and the lack of missing middle housing. Given my time constraint, I will only focus on the incorrect population projection. And I'll talk as fast as I can, but I'm not sure I can get through all the figures within 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but I'll try. The comprehensive plan, and therefore this growth plan, states our 2045 population demand is going to be 79,000 in unincorporated Knox County. This information is based on the 2045 mobility plan. Page C3 of this mobility plan indicates for all of Knox County, cities and the county, it gives an estimate of what our 2045 population will be. And it's based on the 2018 population. The comprehensive plan states that either 73 or 75% of these people will live in unincorporated county, which makes sense because you got your city folks, you got your county folks. So if you take 75% of this figure, we get the 79,000 that the comprehensive plan is projecting. But, there's always a but. This population projection is based on the size of our population in 2018. We are 5 years past 2018. Let's take a look at where we stand today. Using current population cited in the 2022 Quick Facts Census, our unincorporated county population demand, the projection for 2045, drops to 57,000. And if we subtract the average number of building permits which Advanced Knox cites, the demand figure drops to 55,446. When we update the base year to 2022, add in the average number of building permits for 2023, we get a population demand of 55,446.
Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up. I'm sorry.
I have one paragraph to go. I'll talk
Okay.
as fast as I can.
Okay.
This is quite a bit less than 79,000, and it might even be lower if we could determine the amount of land left to be developed in the existing planned area. So, what my request to the committee is that you delay your vote. Give the public the right to review and comment on the final comprehensive plan first. There are some underlying issues that need to be resolved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Margie Grace. Margie Grace, are you here, ma'am? Please state your name and county of residence, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
I'd like to start by thanking the committee for your work to date and for including our communities in designing our own future. We understand that the existing county plan is dated and needs to be updated, and everybody participated both out of their own self-interest, but also just to see what kind of a life we could build together. So thank you for your work. We appreciate it. At this point in time, my name is Margie Grace, and I'm a Knox County resident. I live at 8815 Suburban Pike. We have farmland. The county plan, or the growth planning plan as proposed adds some growth areas where there was rural area in the existing plan. We understand that this is important for everybody to take a share of the population that's coming. We're interested in healthy and vital communities. We appreciate growth that is supportive of the community. At this point, though, we have a specific developer, Thunder Mountain Properties, requesting that their specific parcels be included in the growth area, which is not as currently proposed in the proposal being the draft that's before us. I would like to say a couple of things about that. First, they put forward that our sewer line is overextended. This is not our understanding. We cannot confirm that whatsoever with Knox Chapman, which is the utility that provides that service. Would it be if we had another 5,000 houses? You bet. But our own property, we went to go connect the sewer line because it's, 120-year-old house on septic, and we're absolutely no problem connecting. We have Valley Baptist Church, absolutely no problem increasing their growth. So the premise that was put forth that they have a great new plan and it's already going to happen, that is just cannot be validated by Knox Chapman. So I have a question about that. And I'm just going to ask that we not allow at the last minute an out-of-county resident to come in and ask at the 11th hour for a great big change for the 3 parcels that that person owns. It's invalidates the whole process. It is disrespectful of the process, and it invalidates everybody's input. So I ask that these parcels not be included in the growth area, that we maintain those as rural areas, and that we not let more of our farmland fall under the asphalt that's waiting for it in the hinterlands, and that we continue with our way of life there and resist urban sprawl. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I do
ma'am.
appreciate it.
Next is Dawn Close. Ma'am, please state your name, county of residence, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dawn Close. I live at 8815 Sevierville Pike also. Anyway, we're at the edge of the county, and we actually like the new plan that they've come up with. We think that there have been a lot of land that's closer into town that have been designated for the growth area. And just like the last speaker, we oppose the Thunder Mountain 3 additional parcels being added to the new growth plan. Our community participated in the advanced Knox process, and we were very clear that we want to keep the farmland, and we want to keep the rural, character of our area to stay that way. Adding all these additional homes to the edge of the county, we're literally 2 miles from the county line, we think is really not the way to go. So we want to strongly oppose adding those 3 parcels, off of Sevierville Pike, White School Road, and Evans Road. We don't want them, as a community, we do not want them to be added to the growth areas on the new plan. The other thing that's of concern is there was a letter that was submitted by Thunder Mountain that said that they've approved a new sewer. Well, there's really not been any growth in our area. We have a very sparse population there, and so we're not sure why they're going to be spending millions of dollars adding a sewer line to our area. The only thing that we can see, the reason you would add a major sewer area is if there's going to be major growth. That community has stated very clearly at every single meeting, we don't want that growth. We just don't want it. We want to keep the rural community a rural community. Adding 500 homes, 1,000 homes, because they're getting ready to ask for an additional rezoning of a new piece of property at White School Road. We just don't think that community can handle 1,000 or 1,200 new homes. We think it's a very bad idea. The roads can't handle it, schools, utilities, fire, police, all of that. I mean, we are on little county roads. We might have Chapman, but all the little feeder roads are all very small roads. They can't handle this kind of growth, you guys. We really, really respectfully ask for you to say no to add those parcels into the growth plan. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
Next up is Bradley Russell. Next is Bradley Russell. Mr. Russell, are you here? Please state your name, county of residence, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello. Bradley Russell, 612 Dry Hollow Road, Knox County. 23-year resident of Knox County, actually. And really can't say a whole lot more than what the last two ladies have said. I live right next to them, and don't want to repeat everything they've said to y'all, but we just want y'all, we appreciate the work that the committee has done, the time that y'all put in to help make Knox County a better place. And we're just asking that y'all stand by that research that you've done. You know, don't let these people who don't even live in Knox County come in and tell, 2 or 3 people ruin the lives of our community who have been here for 23 years or all our lives. Well, that's really, what we're asking. So the parcel at 150 BC 001 Chapman Highway, it's the parcel 138-104-8744 at Chapman Highway. And the recently rezoned 8802 Sevierville Pike parcel is actually adjacent to my farm, which is 84 acres. And we just don't feel like there's a need, for 500 houses right there in that area where there's currently only 1 or 2 houses per acre. We're okay with 1 or 2 houses per acre. That's what the current area is. That would be consistent with our area. And that's just what we're asking for y'all to do. We're not saying no. We're not saying no development. We just want to come to, an agreement of 1 or 2 houses per acre. So these 3 parcels don't need to be added to the new growth plan. We think it's a good plan, and we appreciate the time that y'all put into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Pamela Stout. Ms. Stout, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My name is Pamela Stout. I live at 8524 North Ruggles Ferry Pike. I also represent the Knox County Farm Bureau, where we have over 680,000 members here in Tennessee. In Knox County alone, we have over 28,000, where we hold the title for the largest member within the state and nationwide. In 2023, the Knox County Farmers Market had 31 agriculture vendors that grow or farm in Knox County. Those 31 plus other farmers across the county also contribute to a broader audience that not only serves Knox County, but our commodities also affect our state and our nation. As we all know, we're in the Christmas season, and what would Christmas be without a farmer? The Oak Ridge Boys released a song in 1982 titled, "Thank God for Kids." I would like to change that title to "Thank God for Farmers." Because of Knox County farmers, we help to contribute over 15,000 Christmas tree farms nationwide that allow us to decorate and make memories with our families. We contribute to the Ugly Sweater contest each year because our sheep, one sheep alone, can produce wool for 6 sweaters. We contribute to over 99 billion egg consumption each year for your egg yolks that go into eggnog, cakes, and more. And let's not forget about those Christmas cookies where we love to bake with our children, where we contribute over to 2 billion pounds of spices each year. We are one of the 17 states in the U.S. that also grows and produces 15 million bales of cotton each year for our factories to produce the clothing and for automobile seats that we use each day. Let's not forget about the 318 billion pounds of ham alone that we consume during just the Christmas season each year, as we sit around the table enjoying a Christmas meal with our families and make beautiful memories to share later in life. Without our farmers and our farmland, mankind would not be able to sustain life in many ways. Let's not forget about our wildlife habitation. The homes of our wildlife is being destroyed daily, and we see that more and more, how we see that the bears from the Smoky Mountains are coming into our valleys and onto our farms. We see the deer encounters each year being more prominent, and just this year alone, the Tennessee Farm Bureau has paid out the largest number in deer repair, and it ranges from $6,200 to $6,700 just for one deer. So when you see that deer on the side of the road, you see how much it costs. We as farmers need our land, we need our consumers, we need our county, we need your support, of the #1 industry for the state of Tennessee, not to develop our farmland into something that will not produce a commodity or a memory for your family or mine to reflect on later. We have a lot of farmland that has been passed down a generation, and we would encourage and we would ask for your support and to keep in our farmland and our farms in agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stout. Next up is Colleen McWilliams. Ms. McWilliams, could you please approach the podium, state your name, and you'll have county residents. You have 3 minutes. Colleen McWilliams.
Hello, my name's Colleen McWilliams. I'm a resident here in Knox County. And I'm here today because I want us to learn from this 19th century problem. Let's learn from the very city where I grew up. I grew up in Los Angeles, where resources are pushed to the max, where pollution wreaks havoc on the local environment and on the health of the people that live there. It's the city that cemented in its only river because it caused too much flooding for the sprawling communities that surrounded it. I don't want this to happen to the place that I have grown to call home without insisting on my local government to give more intention and reflection to this growth plan. I say this with all of Knox County in mind. Knox County is a place of innovation. We have the World's Fair, we have a university, we are adjacent to one of the most prestigious laboratories in the world. We are a county with the ability to not follow in the mistakes of quick urban sprawl and then choke out our rural communities and farmland. Let us invest in the areas that are already zoned for multi-use. Let's grow where there's existing infrastructure. Let's find solutions. Let's be innovative. Let's not be reactive. Because urban sprawl creates a plethora of environmental health and pollution issues. I'm no farmer, but I do know my farmer. And when they organize and they raise the alarm to this plan, I feel inclined to listen and hope that all of you do as well. Farmers are who put food on our families' tables. They drive the #1 industry of Tennessee. And I hope that we all can think about this when we sit down with our families this holiday season and reflect on this, all the things that we have heard here today. And as all of you sit up there with the decision that will affect not just the expected 79,000 people that will be moving here, but the very people and the very business owners and the farmers that are already here. Because please listen to them. This isn't a call to ignore that we are growing, but that we are seeing in the growth that we are seeing in this beautiful city and county, but for us to learn from the mistakes that have been made before and to do better. So I ask you, do you really think that this is the best that we can do?
Next up, and I apologize in advance, Charlie Debevoise. Mr. Debevoise, my apologies, sir.
That would be
Actually, if you
the
wouldn't mind stating your
second
name and county resident.
That would be the second time you've messed up my name,
Yeah,
but that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
Not good with those.
Debevoise, everyone.
Debevoise,
everyone,
thank you, sir.
Everyone slaughters it.
You have 3 minutes, sir. Thank you.
So I live in the city. I just bought a farm in the county, which was targeted for a huge development. I mentioned that the last time I spoke here. My wife and I plan on continuing the long tradition of farming that property, as well as putting a large amount of it under a permanent conservation easement. It's along the Holston, and the Holston is a stunning, brilliant spot. It's beautiful. I really look forward to protecting that and other spots along the Holston. Tonight I want to speak specifically about the roads in East Knox and the challenges that we face there. And first, thank you for adding lanes and signals and intersection improvements along the length of East Emory Road to Tazewell Pike. You've also added a pedestrian bridge at School and you're increasing the capacity of Washington Pike. And yet the community still has very serious and justified concerns about how a large influx of new residents would impact these already stressed roadways. The roads in East Knoxville are typical rural county roads, narrow two-lane roads that can only accommodate light travel. However, 71% of the expanded planned growth area is in East Knox. That's 7,744 new acres for potential development. Tazewell Pike has been identified in the TDOT Improvement Acts since it is already heavily traveled, but funding has not yet been allocated. The proposed comprehensive plan calls for a small area traffic analysis study. I suggest, and I think a bunch of us suggest, why not do the study first before you approve this plan and determine the fiscally best way to increase traffic capacity before deciding where growth should occur? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Debevoise. Next up is Anna Kern. Ms. Kern, please come to the podium, state your name and county of residence. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Committee. My name is Anna Kern, Knox County resident. The following items are a reflection of my and Kevin Murphy's opinions. By a show of hands from the committee members, I'm curious how many of you all have visited Imes Nature Center? About half of us. I will say, I imagine it was for a hike or a dip in the quarry, maybe to drop off your kids at the nature preschool, or even to see a movie under the stars. My dad and my Aunt Martha grew up at the original home site at Imes. My great-grandparents were H.P. and Alice Imes, both ahead of their time when it came to conservation. I stand here before you on the shoulders of H.P. and Alice, as well as on the 7 generations of strong stock farmers that come before me. I'm confident that my ancestors would be standing at this microphone today if they were alive. As a board member of Imes, I'm keenly aware that over 620,000 folks locally and from across the globe come to the Nature Center every year. If something like this proposed growth map was passed before my great-grandparents' times, we and folks from across the world would not have the pleasure of enjoying all the benefits of Imes as we do today. It would be another private subdivision and not a thriving outdoor space with nature preschool, outdoor education activities, and more. On top of that, a study by UT estimates that the Knoxville urban wilderness generates almost $25 million annually for Knox County's economy. So not only are these preserved lands great at supporting education, mental and physical well-being, but they're also bringing in major revenue for our city. People are moving to Knoxville to reap the benefits of open, preserved spaces like Imes in the urban wilderness. If we pass this proposed growth map, we're taking away other open spaces, revenue for the cities, and the heart of what makes Knoxville so special. After connecting with Nourish Knoxville, who runs all of our farmers markets, I learned some interesting stats. In the past year, the Market Square and Winter Farmers Markets had about 157,000 total attendees. The New Harvest Market had about 13,000 attendees for the last season. Market Square Farmers Market is an economic engine for downtown, with visitors also patronizing downtown restaurants, shops, festivals, and events. There are more agriculture vendors that do not sell at the farmers markets, but sell directly to local restaurants and grocery stores, and also through CSAs. Our local produce and food products are featured in our best local restaurants, which has helped give Knoxville a name for being a great food destination. If we lose some or most of these local Knox County farmers, we accelerate the loss of rural character and heritage to Knox County. This is our touchstone to our past, to who we are as East Tennesseans. Our rural areas and farms give us places close by that allow us to slow down, to experience a slower pace of life, and to enjoy the natural beauty of our land. If I were on the committee, these points would be something to consider when determining if I were making a recommendation for or against the plan. I'm asking you to delay your vote and give the public the right to review and comment on the final comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kern. Up next is Gretchen Node. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Ma'am, if you wouldn't mind, please state your name, residence, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name's Gretchen Node. Knox County. A little emotional from what I just heard because we are farmers. We live at the foot of House Mountain. Much of the space along Washington Pike in this proposed plan is prime farmland. When prime farmland is turned into subdivisions, it does not ever become prime farmland again. It is a precious resource. Not only that, House Mountain is a precious resource. As I have hiked House Mountain for over 25 years now, when I get to the top, like everyone, we want to see the view. It used to look like the Shire from Lord of the Rings. There are more and more subdivisions, more and more houses. It is destroying the view, it is destroying the unique nature. Like many people here, I came from a big city. I came here 20-some years ago to get away from the sprawl, to farm, to be in a place that is slower, a place that is beautiful, a place that is special, a place where I can hike and explore and where I can be with community and I can work with my family to feed the people of Knox County as well as feeding ourselves. The plan along Washington Pike is also dangerous because there are safety concerns as well as quality of life. You all have done work on Emory Road, but it's still an accident waiting to happen. There's constantly accidents from all of the subdivisions without having infrastructure. We have a railroad track, we have schools. There's not the space to increase Washington Pike with the demand that is called for with the Newtown project. We also have a challenge, sewer, water, 5G towers, everything else that would end up coming with a huge subdivision being put in, a town within a town, being put in out in the country. We live out in the country for a reason. We don't want a town 5 minutes away from us. We want the farmland, we want the freedom to farm, and we want the opportunity for this decision to be delayed, for more people to weigh in, and for all of these other research projects that I've been hearing about, I didn't even know about these things, to happen, take place, and let's find the best place for this growth to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lisa Starbuck. Ms. Starbuck, please state your name please state your county of residence. You have 3 minutes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Lisa Starbuck. I'm a Knox County resident and also a resident of the RITA community. I'm a longtime community advocate and have been involved in multiple organizations supporting thoughtful and effective planning for growth. I have participated in every opportunity that was provided for public input for Advanced Knox and many other initiatives such as sector plans and small area plans. In addition, I have served on multiple mayoral and county commission appointed committees such as Hillside Ridgetop Committee, Stormwater Planning Committee, Farmers Market Development Committee, and several others over the years. I am supportive of the Advanced Knox process, but I am concerned that the growth plan amendment as currently proposed does not accurately reflect the objectives of Advanced Knox and does not align with the proposed comprehensive plan and other plans. It does not make sense that we should make such sweeping changes to the rural area of the growth plan based on some rather subjective estimates of population increases. I am greatly concerned that the comprehensive plan as proposed has many problems and questions that have not been addressed. A perfect example of the disconnect between the growth plan amendment and the comprehensive plan is the lack of provision for parks in the proposed expansion area. The RITA community is expected to absorb 6,000 acres of planned growth area, but in the Master Parks Plan that was just adopted by County Commission last night, not a single new park has been proposed. In the 2010 Parks Plan, the need for new parks in Northeast Knox County was identified and addressed. Now we are told there is no money for new parks. However, it seems that you should at least identify areas where parks should be located. How can you add all of this new housing and not make any provision for parks or recreation? Not to mention there is no alignment with the transportation plan or other important plans. I am very concerned that the proposed expansion of planned growth into the rural area is being proposed using development types, mainly suburban development, that are fiscal losses for the county, and we don't have any plans to add the services and infrastructure that new residents and businesses will require. We should hold off on adding this expansion area until we actually have plans to accommodate that growth. Perhaps we should start small and only add planned growth area in stages, specifically to areas that are already adjacent to developed land where infrastructure and amenities currently exist, and not encourage sprawl that will cause an economic burden to taxpayers in addition to contributing to the loss of farmland and rural. I'm asking you to please delay your vote and give the public the right to review and comment on the final comprehensive plan. I believe with time, we can gain consensus and create something that will serve the needs of all Knox County citizens.
Thank you, Ms. Starbuck. Next, Larry Silverstein. Mr. Silverstein, you have 3 minutes. If you please state your name and county of residence, sir.
Larry Silverstein, Knox County. I'm speaking as chairperson of Community Forum. This is my third appearance before this committee. My remarks are also addressed to Knox County Commissioners, the Town of Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and the Knoxville City Council, all of whom will have to approve the proposed amendment to the Growth Policy Plan before it can go into effect. This amendment has profound effects on the Knox County development and planning process, land use, and zoning. Every parcel of land in Knox County outside Knoxville and Farragut is affected, as all land use decisions must be consistent with the growth plan. We request that amendments to the Growth Policy Plan, text, and map be postponed until they are in final form, fully understood, and until all other new documents are written and presented to the public for review and debate. The comprehensive land use plan and map has not been vetted or debated by the public or elected officials and won't be before this committee votes on the growth policy plan. This process is very risky and unfair to taxpayers and property owners. The adoption of the growth policy plan text removes the unincorporated portion of Knox County from the Knoxville-Knox County General Plan 2033. This committee will not vote on and has no control over the proposed comprehensive land use plan. Current sector plans and small area plans will no longer exist once replaced by the comprehensive plan. Removing density numbers from the concept of density, except in the rural area, is a major and negative change. Removing specific land use categories and replacing with less specific place types is a major and negative change. Replacing clear development policy statements in the General Plan 2033 with a list of tasks for Knox County government in the proposed comprehensive plan is a major and negative change. Most importantly, with all the public meetings and comments provided, the public did not request Knox County to abandon the Knoxville-Knox County General Plan, nor eliminate sector plans to devise a separate comprehensive plan, nor request 2 more years to rewrite the zoning ordinance. The public did stress the need for improved roads, stormwater infrastructure to prevent floods, and protection of hillsides. None of these things are assured. How will new infrastructure be paid for unless taxes are raised? The public meetings were just window dressing for a bait and switch operation. All that is being accomplished is giving a small number of developers free rein to do whatever they want with very little regulation. Guardrails the public has had for decades will be gone. A few miles of rural land will move to planned growth, and that is strongly opposed in East Knox County. For the second time in this process, Knox County failed to comply with TCA 658-1043 and provide the required 15 days advance notice of each public hearing by notice in the newspaper of general circulation. The Legally, the county begins the next day after notice is published. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next is Herb Anders. Mr. Anders. Mr. Anders, please state your county of residence, or you have 3 minutes.
Before my time starts, may I ask a question as to clarification about the public forum?
Yes.
There were several questions that were presented to this group at last meeting, and there was no
It is a yes, but probably not, I don't think, tonight.
Will they be answered before the proposed?
I mean, sir, the public forum, you know, we take these things and we do the best we can, but we're being inundated with information both ways. So if you have a list of specific questions that you submit to whoever, I'm sure that they can be answered in that way.
Okay, not only my 2 questions that I had, but there were several questions.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. I ended my comments at the last meeting with a statement, always be open to change, but never underestimate the power of tradition. TVA was created in the Tennessee Valley, and it was created on May 18th of 1933. The reason it was created, and the reason why we enjoy the benefits of TVA and the creation of it came not because of hydroelectric power. It came because it was to preserve farmland, promote industry, and to make the Tennessee River more navigable. So the important part of that, and I have some articles that were in the Tennessee Home and Farm regarding 90 years of history of TVA. I have one for each of you. And farmland in the East Tennessee Valley drainage, this is a quote from that. Before the creation of TVA, farmland in the Tennessee Valley drainage basin was at the mercy of the Tennessee River and its tributaries, which caused flooding and unwanted gullies. Establishing the TVA Corporation, the Act's main objectives were to foster agricultural and industrial development and to improve navigation along the Tennessee River, and to control the destructive floodwater in the Tennessee River and Mississippi River basins. Another interesting fact about the Act, the TVA Act, is that although the hydroelectric power was in the plans for that, it is not mentioned in the law. So the primary reason was agriculture, industrial development, and make the river more navigable. It was created to preserve farmland, and I would like to also say that many of the families in this region consider TVA as a large tradition in their families. We enjoy the lakes, we enjoy what TVA brought to this region. I know it came with a cost to a lot of farmers, but had TVA not done what they did, and flood control standpoint, the farms would not be here. And they recognized that early on, brought national attention to that fact. And so TVA is an important part, and they saw back in 1933 the importance of preserving farms. I'd like to also speak to the affordable housing and the density that it takes to create some affordable housing. Only 30% of the population of Knox County can afford the price of a medium home in Knox County is around $360,000. 30% of that of our residents can afford that. 70% cannot. And another interesting fact is that article published in the National Home Builders, or research that they did, 23.8% of the cost of a new home is due to government regulations. You can look that up on the National Home Builders website. It's there. It was finished in May of 2021, and that was a considerable increase. And I realize
Mr. Anders,
my time is gone.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate that, but I want to voice my opinion as far as the delaying the vote on this until all the facts are out, and I'll pass these out to you.
And I'm going to turn over to Jim Snowden, who's Senior Director of Engineering and Public Works for Knox County. Mr. Anders, he's going to actually address some of your questions.
Yes, I'd like to speak to Mr. Anders' question about, the answer of staff questions. We'd certainly, if folks don't care to send an email to the Growth Policy Committee, we'll certainly answer any questions. We've done that to this point. It's just during the meeting, it's a little hard for us to answer those questions as they come up. But if anybody has any questions, Mr. Anders, you or anybody else, just please send an email to that Growth Policy email, and we'll be happy to clarify anything.
Jim, what is that email again, please?
It is gpp@advancedknox.org.
gpp@advancedknox.org.
Yeah, GPP, Advanced Knowledge, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. We've done so. It's just, it's kind of hard to in this setting, so.
Right, yeah, thank you. Next for public forum is Mary Long. Ms. Long, you have 3 minutes.
I had one question too before I start. Are you guys going to honor all of what he just said, GPP? I can't remember the
Sure,
full email address.
so that actually goes to staff. And
Okay.
what Jim is saying is the issue with this is we have a lot of different questions, and it becomes very difficult to take everybody's questions and be able to answer them on an ad hoc, basis. So it's a lot easier just to communicate with them through that email. But it's not,
Right.
it actually doesn't come to us, it goes to Jim.
Okay, because I know several people had put in their parcels for, myself included, to be kept in the rural area. So that's why I was asking. Okay, okay. Is that a yes, you are going to honor those requests, or?
Request for, I didn't catch.
The request to honor the requests of the citizens to put their land in the rural area.
Oh, that's not something for, I think, staff to make a call on. So I wanted to jump in about the questions that are submitted, any comments. Those are all posted. Anything that's submitted from the public gets posted to the website, so our committee members have access to that.
Okay. Mary Long, Ritta Community, West Springs Road. Thank you for allowing us to speak on behalf of our community. I would like to start by saying that this has felt very rushed. This is the holiday season. Everyone should be spending time with their families and not feeling stressed to meet this deadline to try to change the committee's minds. This growth plan greatly impacts our communities, but many people were not aware of these changes and were belatedly apprised by other community members. We have asked for updated traffic studies, environmental impact studies, flood risks, plans, educational impact studies, and we've heard nothing. An extension was requested on the second meeting to respect the holidays, and it was apparently denied. Have any of these studies been done? I haven't seen any being conducted in my area. Since this is a 20-year plan, I'm not sure why the rush to wrap it up by the end of the year. It would seem reasonable to have another meeting with communities that will be affected and hear from them, especially those in the Northeast Knox area, as they will be the most affected by this growth. We are not anti-growth. We love that people want to move to our town, and we hope that they love it as much as we do. However, we also want to continue loving it ourselves in the process. Can we find a happy medium there? The current Knox County residents are rightly concerned that this proposed growth plan will exacerbate many issues that we face currently. Excessive traffic congestion will cause safety concerns on Washington Pike, especially within the school zones. How will this road be improved without risking the literal homes of the current residents and taxpayers? Risks to livestock on current farms and homesteads. Increased risks to the children and learning in schools will be diminished by overcrowding. Barns and outbuildings are at an increased risk of burglary. My family has owned our land since the early 70s. In the 40 years I've been around and the 10 years that I have lived in our current home, the crime in this area has increased exponentially. This is a direct result of this type of growth. One of the community members sent me an email. I'd like to quote her, that we are not obligated to build a nest for everyone who wants to live here. In conclusion, people move to the county for its character, not how many shops and restaurants there are, not to live in high rises on top of each other. They move here for the quiet life and be able to see the stars at night. This growth plan directly impacts that American dream. This mega growth is not sustainable. Where does it end? How long before there's no rural area left in Knox County? It saddens me to see so many politicians and people in charge so deep in the pockets of these developers that they cannot see the impact that these plans will have on the current residents, people who put them in offices. Please make the right decision for your current residents. Thank you for your time. And I would also like to say, I agree with everybody on waiting on the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Up next is Megan Howard. Megan Howard. Ms. Howard, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd be a little mottled. I just came from work, but thank you guys for being here. It'll be all over the place. So I'm here just trying to represent, Megan Howard, Wise Springs Road, Knox County. I'm just here trying to represent a group invested in keeping the character of the community while trying to reach a middle ground with responsible, reduced, and smart growth. Between the last meeting and now, there are more questions I have than answers. My brilliant neighbors are covering much more complex ideas this evening. I'll be a little more personal. The farmers we know that you are not taking their farms. They do not fault a family member selling large plots of old farmland, but they do mourn it. The impact on them directly with this growth needs to be a message heard from them. The oversight of not placing them in the rural zone can be amended. If I'm reading the new park plan correctly, then I continue to be disappointed. It begs the question again, what percentage of the large lots purchased to be subdivided are going to be made green space? The core of this community will be affected the most. We will pay the most with our time, money, property, and loss of what pulled us here to begin with. The residents stand to lose the most and gain nothing. We chose to live in the county in a rural zone. We chose limited shopping, eating, etc. It was a choice. It really is that simple. We are also realizing just how out of the loop our community is. Being a foot soldier, delivering signs and bumper stickers has allowed me to acknowledge there's not been enough time for the community to marinate in this and help us reinvent this idea. One of the largest undeveloped plots in Knox County is across the street from me. Coincidentally, that same property wants the growth plan extended to encompass that entire property. Where can we find information about the plans in place for this area, and who stands to benefit from this? Will they collaborate with the community? Still so many questions. Are there any plans for Adopt a Road or funding for trash pickup? I drove down Thompson School last week and could hardly see a blade of grass under the litter. I've traveled this road for 14 years. The increase in population directly correlates with pollution. As you continue into more ag zones, you begin to see a significant decrease or no litter. Over the last 5 years, there has been an exponential increase in litter. Again, a direct impact to farms, runoff, and livestock. This feels like a large brushstroke with a catch-up plan when it could be a concentrated stroke with forethought. The influx of people and their tax dollars may eventually pay for the infrastructure changes we have already been desperate for. When discussing walkability and transportation, I can't imagine housing in the deep rural zone will align with those needs. Where will CAT run? Will sidewalks line an already overcapacitated Washington Pike? There was somebody with a comment in a bicycle club who was excited about this growth plan. I'm afraid she didn't look at the park plan or she would be disappointed to see our area. We are already behind. There will be several growing pains in the in-between. With the traffic impacts, lacks of schools, potential portable classrooms, we're still busing our kids to Holston. Where will
Howard,
the
I'm
bubble
sorry, I'm going to
burst?
have to ask you to wrap up. I'm
All
sorry,
right,
ma'am.
which county gets the pleasure of remaining country? Other than farms, where will the green space in rural areas exist? This is a 20-year plan. That's plenty of time to preserve our rural appeal without making it a memory.
Next is, apologies, but Wolf Nageli, I believe. You have 3 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Wolf Nagley, 4425 Ballarage Lane in Carnes, Knox County. I came to Tennessee in 1985 after working for TVA in the Land and Water 201 program, helping them interpret the natural resources inventory of the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the 201 county area of TVA's services. In my opinion, this plan is not ready for adoption. It's almost like walking blindfolded toward a natural resources hazards area after a natural disaster. There's so many things that have not been considered that should be considered in a land use plan that has really followed the best practices. For example, natural resources are considered only in terms of their natural beauty and not in terms of their ecological functions. Public services are addressed mostly in terms of infrastructure development need rather than cost optimization in terms of the tax dollars that will be needed to maintain those services. Land use patterns greatly influence the cost of public services. This is particularly true with regard to risks such as flooding, landslides, and wildfires. Planning land use is considered in many ways a wicked problem because it has a lot of uncertainty, even about the present, but mostly about the future. And it involves multiple stakeholders with very different motivations, and they may not even aware of how their expectations and constraints in using their properties will change as the future changes. And we're heading into a climate change period that we really can't predict how rapidly it will be coming. It's coming faster than we expected over the last 30 years that the United Nations has been studying that. Also, Oak Ridge National Laboratory is mentioned only as an employer. Why was no attention paid to the climate-induced social vulnerability index for East Tennessee developed in 2017? And this was done by ORNL specifically with East Tennessee and Knox County as one of the areas that they analyzed as a prototype for this type of social vulnerability assessment. Climate change is not mentioned at all in the plan. Natural hazards are merely noted in the context of parks. Of course, we're better off if areas susceptible to natural area hazards are used for parks than residential subdivisions. But the problem is that once you've done it, it's irreversible. You cannot step away from residential and make it agricultural again.
Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up, please.
Yes. And I just want to note again that agriculture is responsible for $4 billion of income to Knox County in its GDP. It's including the multiplier effect in the local economy. So it's very important. It's like 13% of our GDP for the county.
Thank you, sir. Next is Bob Thompson. Mr. Thompson, you have 3 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bob Thompson, Knox County. I want to ask for clarity on the population projections that are such a big part of this program. And when you look at the comprehensive report document, it mentions the number 79,000 additional people. And I believe the period they're talking about is from 2020 to 2024. So that would be based on the 2020 census, which a number we have, and a 2040 estimate from the Boyd Center, which is a projection. And my understanding is that number is for the whole county. including the cities. So the question becomes, what's the county's share? What's the unincorporated part of the county's share of that 79,000? The Boyd Center does not give projections for cities. It only gives projections for counties as a whole. So the question is, what number is for the unincorporated part of the county? In the October meeting here, the Kimley project manager gave you the number 70,000 for the unincorporated part of the county. She said that's the increase that we're looking at. She seemed a little uncertain, but that's the number she gave you. And I believe I heard that number also mentioned at the November meeting, 70,000. So the question is, where does that number come from? How is that arrived at? Because I think it's probably much lower, and I can explain. If you look at the Appendix A document, it explains from 2010 to 2020, the unincorporated part of the county's share of population increase was 69%. So if you multiply 69 times 79, you get more like 55,000 people that would be the county's share. But I think if you look at even more recent trends, which are not reflected in any of the advanced documents, but you can look at the census estimate for 2022 population. If you look at and I've got a spreadsheet I submitted to the GPP at Advanced Knox today. The most recent trends are even higher, that the county's share of future population is only 59%. And if you multiply 79,000 by 59%, you come up with a number more like 47,000. So again, I ask, these are fundamental, these projections are fundamental to the planning process. So again, I ask for clarity on where did that 70,000 come from? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And that concludes public forum. Thank you also very much for your comments. Moving on, I appreciate everyone who has requested a change to the proposed amendment. Staff are actively working on any changes that need to be incorporated, and we'll send updates to committee members and post them on the website. Now I'd just like to open this up to discuss the current amendment, or if anyone on the committee has any questions. I'll recognize you then. Okay. Well, if there are no questions, the next meeting is scheduled for January 10th. This will be published with public notice in the News Sentinel on December 21st. So thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here this evening. I hope that everyone has a Merry Christmas. Without objection, this meeting is adjourned.